Hello, everyone out there in YouTube land, all you nerds out there. This is Big Jake with 3MVTA coming at you with my first ever MTG Magic the Gathering Deck Tech. And yes, I realized I spelled Tech with a K. I did that on purpose. Thank you. Uh, I call this one Insects Everywhere. So let's go ahead and get right into it, shall we? First of all, our commander is Grist, the Hunger Tide. He's a 3-drop, 1, a black and a green, for a 3 loyalty planeswalker. He has a passive ability where he's a 1/1 insect if he's in any other zone other than the battlefield. His +1, he creates a 1/1 insect token. You mill a card. If it's an insect creature card, you put another loyalty counter on him and you repeat the process. Neg 2, sack a creature, and when you do, you get to destroy target creature or planeswalker. And his Neg 5, which is each opponent loses life equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. So when I first saw this, I was really intrigued by it, especially since it's a planeswalker that can be your, as far as I know, it's the only planeswalker that can be your commander without it actually saying on the bottom that it can be your commander. Because of his passive ability, according to the rules that they made, his passive ability actually takes effect in during deck building. So that's why he's able to be your commander. So pretty cool card. I really like it. I really like this deck. Let me tell you about it some more, shall we? First of all, we've got the mana base. I put them all up here. I'm not going to describe every one. I don't want to make this video too long since this is a commander deck. We got 100 cards to get through. But 31 lands. Mana base is pretty varied. The reason I put the lands in here that I did is because I basically wanted to access the 2 colors anytime I needed to, as opposed to, I don't want to run into trouble accessing colors. In all reality, in a 2-color deck, that's not as bad, but still, as far as like the important lands go, I would say you probably got things like Hissing Quagmire can be pretty important because it can also become a creature with Death Touch. Excuse me. And then, other than that, you got the usual 2-color lands. Unclaimed Territory can tap for any color of a creature chosen type. So, I can tell you right now, the only creatures we're running in this deck, aside from 2, are insects. So, just choose insects and you can tap for either your 2 colors. So, all right. Next up, the mana rocks. I only run 5 mana rocks. Don't typically have a problem with mana in this deck. Not very often. I think I've only run into an issue like maybe once. But we got Arcane Signet, which taps for your commander's color identity. Fellwar Stone, which taps for any mana that an opponent's lands can produce. Golgari Key Rune, which taps for Golgari colors, but it can also become a 2/2 insect creature token with Death Touch, or an insect creature with Death Touch. You got the Golgari Locket, which taps for Golgari colors again, but it also can, you pay 4 and it can draw you 2 cards. And then Star Compass taps for our 2 colors if we have both of our basics out there, Forest and Swamp. Next, we have my utility artifacts. We got Bontu and Ronus' Monument. Both make creature spells cost 1 less. Bontu, when you cast a creature spell, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life, which actually can be fairly important sometimes. And then you got Ronus' Monument, which the ability of Ronus' Monument, I haven't really had, honestly, any real reason for it in this deck, but it gives a target creature +2/+2 and it gains trample until end of turn. Vanquisher's Banner, because since we're basically running a tribal, choose insect, and then anytime you cast it, you get to draw. And anytime you cast an insect, you get to draw a card. And plus, on that, it gives our insects +1/+1. Wishclaw Talisman, which lets us pay 1 to search our library for a card, put it into our hand. Now, the only downside to this is you have to give it to an opponent to control. But typically, you can make some kind of deal on the board, like, hey, I'm willing to do this if you give it back to me for the last, search option. So, pretty cool card. And then you got Witch's Cauldron, which enables us to sack a creature, gain a life, and draw a card, which can be fairly useful since our commander can spit out tokens. Next, I got 3 Planeswalkers in here. I got Vraska the Queen, who is a 4 mana, 2 generic, green-black Planeswalker, 4 loyalty. +2 is you may sacrifice another permanent. If you do, you gain a life and draw a card. -3, destroy target non-land permanent with a CMC of 3 or less. And then her -9, which definitely can be important for this deck, is you get an emblem with creatures you control. You get an emblem that whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, they lose the game. Then you got Vraska, the Relic Seeker. Her +2, she creates a 2/2 pirate token with menace. -3 is destroy target artifact, creature, or enchantment, and you get to create a treasure token. And then her -10 is target player's life total becomes 1. And then we have Vraska the Unseen. Her +1 is until your next turn, whenever a creature deals combat damage to her, destroy that creature. -3, destroy target non-land permanent. And then her -7 is you create 3 1/1 black assassin creature tokens with whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, they lose the game. Next, we have enchantments. I have 13 total enchantments. All of them can be definitely important. Bastion of Remembrance can be very important. I've actually won a game with this enchantment. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life, you gain a life. Binding the Old Gods lets us destroy a target non-land permanent, search our library for a basic, actually, I'm sorry, it's not a basic, it's just a forest card. So if you have a dual forest card, you can put that out there. And then it gives our creatures death touch till end of turn. Dead Bridge Chant can be very important in this deck for one of our win cons. Is you mill 10 cards from your library, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to return a card at random from your graveyard, or you choose a card at random from your graveyard. If it's a creature, it goes to the battlefield. Otherwise, you put it in your hand. Death Reap Ritual helps us out with card draw. That at the beginning of each end step, if a creature died, you may draw a card. You don't have to. So we don't want to be drawn. You want to draw as much as possible, but that way, if for whatever reason, if there's a reason not to draw, you don't have to. Exquisite Blood, which everybody should know what that does, is that whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. Journey to Eternity, you can enchant a creature with it, and when that creature dies, you get to return the creature back to the battlefield, and you transform it into Cave of Eternity, which is an enchantment that taps for any color. Or actually, it's a land, that taps for any color, and then you can pay 5 and return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. The rest of our enchantments here. You got Moldervine Reclamation, which can help too, because whenever a creature we control dies, it gains us a life and draws us a card. You got Mortal Combat. At the beginning of our upkeep, if we have 20 or more creatures in our graveyard, we win the game. Parallel Lives, which doubles our tokens. Phyrexian Reclamation allows us to pay 1 and a black, +2 life, and we get to return a creature card from the graveyard to our hand. Primal Vigor, which doubles our tokens, but also doubles any +1/+1 counters we put on creatures we control. Sanguine Bond, whenever we gain life, target opponent loses that much life. And then you got Warlock class, which has the passive ability that if a creature died at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died, each opponent loses a life. Then you can pay 2 and level it to level 3, which is you look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 in your hand and the rest in your graveyard, which can be very important for this deck. Allows us to chuck insects into our creatures in general, into our graveyard. And then level 3, which also can be very important, relevant in this deck, is at the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses life equal to the amount of life they lost that turn. So if you get to ultimate, quote unquote, ultimate grist, his -5, that means each opponent loses 5 life. That means at the beginning of your end step, they lose another 5 life. So next, I have Instants. Only running 5 Instants. Deadly Dispute to help us draw a card, ramp a little bit if we need to. Death Sprout destroys a creature, and we get to ramp a little bit. We get to search our library for a basic. Putrefy, which destroys an artifact or a creature. Village Rites, we sack a creature, draw 2 cards. And then Vraska's Contempt, which allows us to exile a creature or a planeswalker, and we gain 2 life. Next, we're running 7 sorceries in here. Casualties of War, which is a pretty awesome destroy spell. Allows us to choose 1 or more. I mean, more than likely you're going to choose as many as you can, but you get to destroy an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, a land, and a planeswalker. Circuitous Route, Cultivate, and Explosive Vegetation all ramp us. They allow us to search our libraries for land cards. The only difference between them is Explosive Vegetation, puts both lands on the battlefield tab. Cultivate puts 1 land in your hand and 1 on the battlefield tab, and they're both basics. And then Circuitous Route allows you to search for either 2 basics and or gates and put them onto the battlefield tab. So you can mix and match, or, well, in this case, you would just mix and match since you can only run 1 copy of Golgari Guildgate. So, Plague Wind, destroy all creatures you don't control. And then the Scheming Symmetry, which is another search card. But the downside to that is, even though it's only 1 mana, which is pretty amazing to search your library for, you have to choose another player, and they also get to search their library. So be careful about who you use this on, and make sure you don't use it at the right time or at the wrong time. You know what I mean? And finally, we're going to get to the creatures. Now, like I said, I'm going to try to go over these as much as I can without getting too long in this video. But we got Ant Queen, a 5/5 insect that allows you to, you can pay 1 and a green and create a token, and you don't have to tap it, so you can just pay into it and spit out tokens. Bayou Dragonfly is a 1/1 flyer with Swamp Walk. Blight Beetle it's just a 1/1, and it does have protection from green. And then on top of that, it keeps our opponent's creatures from getting 1/1 counters. Brain Maggot is a 1/1, and it has an ETB that an opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it, and you exile it until Brain Maggot leaves the battlefield. Caustic Caterpillar is a 1/1 insect that allows you to pay 1 and a green, and you sack it, and then you get to destroy target artifact or enchantment. Crash of the Rhino Beetles. It's a 5/5 insect with trample, and if you control 10 or more lands, it gets +10/+10, which is pretty insane. Deadly Grub is a 3/1 with Vanishing 3, which means it enters the battlefield with 3 time counters on it. And when it dies, if it had no time counters on it, you get to create a 6/1 insect token with Shroud. So, can be useful. Next, we have Deathrite Shaman, also possibly known as the 1-drop Planeswalker. I've heard it called that for a long time now. It's hybrid mana, Golgari colors. It's a 1/2 Elf Shaman, allows you to tap it. You exile a land from a graveyard, you add 1 mana of any color. If you pay a black and tap it, exile an instant or sorcery from a graveyard. Each opponent loses 2 life. Or you can pay a green and tap it, exile a creature from a graveyard, and then you gain 2 life. We have Distended Mindbender. It is a 5/5 Eldrazi insect. When it comes into play, you get to choose a card with CMC 3 or less and with CMC 4 or greater, and your opponent has to, they reveal their hand, you choose that, and then they discard those 2 cards. And then it also has an emerge cost, which means that if you sack a creature, the emerge cost you can cast it for its merge cost reduced by the sacrifice creature's converted mana cost. So you can actually get this big beast out pretty cheap sometimes. We have Endless Cockroaches, which is just a 1/1, but when it dies, it comes right back to our hand. So sack outlet right there. You have Giant Ataphage, which is a 7/7 insect with trample, and if it deals combat damage to an opponent, you get to create a token that's a copy of it. Giant Caterpillar is a 3/3 insect, and if you pay 1 and sack it, it turns into a 1/1 butterfly token with flying. You have Goliath Beetle, which is just a 3/1 with trample. Next page. We have Graveshell Scarab, which is a 4/4 insect, and it has Dredge 1, and you can pay 1 to sack it and draw a card. And then the dredge part on this can be useful with, once again, we're trying to get creatures into our graveyard for 2 different things now. So the dredge on this helps. We have Hornet Nest, which is just a 0/2 with Defender, but whenever it's dealt damage, you create that many 1/1 flying insect tokens for how much damage it was dealt. So Hornet Queen, which anybody watching this ought to know what that is, but it's a 2/2 flyer with Death Touch, and when it enters the battlefield, you can create 4 1/1 flyers with Death Touch. Kazandu Nectarpot, that's a 1/3, the landfall, gain a life. We have Living Hive, it's a 6/6 elemental insect with trample, and when it deals combat damage to a player, you create that many 1/1 insect tokens. Mazarik, the Crawl Death Priest. It's a 2/2 insect shaman with flying, and whenever any player sacrifices another permanent, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So that actually can be very useful for us, since we have sack outlets, either to destroy other things or draw cards or what have you, and we can just buff our entire insect army. Nantuko Elder, which is a 2/2 insect druid that allows us to tap for a generic and a green, with just a cool little mana dork. Next page we have Nantuko Husk, which is a pretty infamous card. It's been around for a long time. 2/2 zombie insect, and you sack a creature and it gets +2/+2 till end of turn. Necropede is a 1/1 insect, and when it with infect, that's important. Infect, it's not too many infect creatures in here, but I mean, infect can definitely be a very important thing, especially in Commander. Because unlike with a lot of things, they didn't make any kind of rule change for Commander, like they might do with other things. But so still 10 poison counters loses that player that game. So. But like I said, he has infect, and then when it dies, you get to put a -1/-1 counter on another target creature. Sorry. Phyrexian Swarmlord is a 4/4 insect horror with infect, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you create a 1/1 insect token with infect for each poison counter an opponent that your opponents have. Plague Stinger, pretty infamous infect creature. 1/1 flyer with 1/1 flyer with infect. You have Prakata Pillarbug, which is a 2/3 insect, and if you pay a black, it gains lifelink till end of turn. Scoop Mob, it's a 1/1 insect, and at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 5 or more lands, it gets 4 +1/+1 counters put on it. Scoot Swarm, which is a really popular card right now. 1/1 insect with landfall, you create an insect token, but if you control 6 or more lands, you create a token that's a copy of Scoot Swarm, which at that point you can just start flooding the board with tokens. So on to the next one. And the last of them, we have Skittering Heartstopper, which is just a 1/2 insect, and if you pay a black, it gains Death Touch till end of turn. Good for combat tricks. We have Thriss Nantuko Primus, which is a 5/5 insect druid, and if you pay a green and tap it, that means target creature gets +5/+5 until end of turn. Once again, more so useful for combat tricks, or maybe literally an opponent's just like 5 life away, or you need just an extra 5 damage. You can tap him and deal that extra 5 if you need to, or or if you need to fly over somebody, say maybe, since he can't fly or anything. So next thing we have Underrealm Lich. Now this one is another really important card for our deck as far as getting stuff in our graveyard. It's a zombie Elf Shaman. If you would draw a card, instead look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one in your hand and the rest in your graveyard. So we get to sort through. We can chuck creatures in our graveyard, or obviously if we find a creature that we might need or might be useful at the time, we don't need to, but that really helps us fill our graveyard. Also, you can pay 4 life. It gains indestructible, and you tap it until end of turn. Or it gains indestructible to end of turn, and then you tap it. And the last creature on our list is Vorapede. It's a 5/4 insect with vigilance, and it also has trample and undying. Just a big beater that's hard to kill, basically. So, and the other thing about insect creatures, since you kind of have to, to really get a good payoff out of this, unless you're running like shapeshifters or something, there's really not that many really good insect creatures out there. I honestly thought I had picked the best ones to put in here, except for maybe like 1 or 2 that I wasn't actually able to get at the time, but I stand by what I picked. So we'll go over the win cons for this deck real quick. The Grist Ultimate, which I already mentioned, that -5 on Grist. Each opponent loses life equal to the number of creature cards in our graveyard. I have won with that before. Then you get the Sanguine Bond, Exquisite Blood, Infinite combo, where you can just drain all your opponents out. Mortal Combat, if we have 20 or more creatures in our graveyard at our upkeep, we win the game. And then, of course, just Token Flood. Just flood the board with as many insect tokens as possible and just start swinging, and hopefully we can just take them out. So as usual, thanks to everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed my first deck tech. Sorry if I appear to be rushing. I really wasn't exactly sure how to approach this in a way that didn't make the video take forever or so. But this is my first one, and I do this channel for fun. So when I do more deck techs, it'll get better as time goes by. But please like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. I hope you found it very interesting, or at least as interesting as I did, as far as this particular new Planeswalker and what he's able to do. And leave a comment down below. Maybe you have a different idea for a deck with him as your commander, or an insect that I may have missed, or an idea for an upgrade, or anything like that. Feel free to please leave a comment. Please like and subscribe. And next time on my channel, I am going to be going through my 10 favorite vampire movies in a special video dedicated to my wife. So I look forward to that. I hope you all look forward to that. And I'll see you guys. Same nerd time, same nerd channel. Have a good evening.